I will now take a few questions from you guys. Okay, so the first question is from Joel Pollack from Breitbart News. 1, is Israel prepared to patrol Gaza alone if Arab and Muslim nations do not? I'll answer that very quickly for you. The Prime Minister has said, Joel, it's going to be done the easy way or the hard way, and Israel will have overall security control of the Gaza Strip. I'll point you back to the 20-point plan, which we continue to reiterate, which Israel remains extremely committed to as we have upheld our side of the agreement. Gaza will be demilitarized, and Hamas will have no part in governing the Palestinian people. You also asked a second question. Vice President Vance said he was personally insulted by the Knesset bill on annexation of Judea and Samaria. I will simply say to you, we released a statement on this, and you can refer back to that statement. Matthew Duran from ABC Australia. Mossad and the Israeli government have just published details of a senior Iranian operative they say are behind fueling anti-Semitic attacks around the world, including in Australia. Was this intelligence provided to Australian authorities prior to the Australian government expelling the Iranian ambassador to Australia over such concerns in late August? And are you concerned these operations are still being run around the world? So I'm not going to discuss any private conversations between Israeli intelligence and the Australian intelligence as well. No need for anything like that. And we know that Iran has been trying to promote anti-Semitism around the world. This is what they have been trying to do. And this is exactly what the statement says. And I will refer you back to that statement for more details on that. Lazar Berman, The Times of Israel. Given Israel's long and sour experience with international peacekeeping forces, including UNIFIL in Lebanon, why is it putting any hopes in the international security force being created inside of the Gaza Strip? So in terms of any details, like I mentioned in this briefing, Lazar, the phase 2 of this, all of these details are happening, all these conversations are ongoing. So when it comes to this international security force or this stabilization force, many of you in the media continue to talk about, all of those details are still being spoken about. And that's one of the reasons why the American administration, President Trump, his team, his incredible team, Vice President Vance, in addition to Secretary of State Rubio, they have been here to work with Prime Minister Netanyahu and his team to ensure they are in full coordination together, which of course we are. The Prime Minister has said we are in the days of destiny. We are working through a moment together to get us to the points where we can put all of these phases into action. And I want to bring everyone back to where we are in this moment. Phase 1, which is making sure all of our hostages are returned home. Hamas made a commitment before this plan that all 48 of our hostages would be released. Here I am, standing on day 13 of when our 20 living hostages came home, and we still have 13 hostages in captivity at this point in time. This is a focus we, Israel, are currently on. And like I said, I reiterated the points about the team that Israel just allowed back into the Gaza Strip to help locate our deceased hostages. Another question, how can Israel claim to respect the freedom of the press if it continues to refuse to allow international journalists into Gaza without being chaperoned by the IDF? Lazar, if there is any change to policy on that, I will certainly let you know. But there is a lot of information that continues to come out of the Gaza Strip, specifically on social media. Of course, journalists want to get in on their own, but I have been following on social media on myself what's happening inside of the Gaza Strip. And just within the last week, I've seen a plethora of food go inside. I've seen these bustling restaurants in large cities taking place with enormous menus as well. So there is clearly enough food inside of the Gaza Strip, as we have continued to say as well. Just going through these questions. Dan Williams from Bloomberg, is Israel pre-informing the U.S. about military actions in Gaza, such as yesterday's airstrike? If so, doesn't this risk compromising tactical secrecy, speed, and efficiency? So the Prime Minister has made it very clear today, Dan, that Israel acts as the independent state, and if there is any type of threat to our soldiers, any imminent threat, Israel will do what it takes to defend our soldiers and our citizens here. But the United States and Israel are in full coordination as we take steps inside of this plan that we are upholding, we are committed to, we are following. And like I said, we are working with the Americans hand in hand, and we will continue to do so throughout this. And also the incredible partnership between the President Trump, and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Like I said, we just had a week of their team visiting us to focus on this plan, to focus on what's going on inside of the Gaza Strip. Yael Ben-Horin from EFE, could you please give more detail about what forces would be considered unacceptable when controlling Gaza? The Prime Minister has made it clear these conversations are ongoing and details will not be shared, of course, as things are still needing to be worked out. Lior Soroka from the Washington Post. Is the Red Cross team and the Egyptian team two separate teams? I can refer you back to what I said in terms of that coordination with bringing this team beyond the IDF's yellow line to help search for our deceased hostages, because Hamas has not returned our 13 hostages yet. Okay, so these are all the questions that I see right now. Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate your time.